The Tour of Flanders is, without question, my favourite race of the entire year.
Yeah, unless it happens to be the day of Strade Bianche or Paris-Roubaix.
That is true, but for this week, it's definitely my favourite race of the entire year. All jokes aside, I do absolutely love the Tour of Flanders, watching the pros racing up the Hellingen, and when I was pro, watching the pros sail away from me on each of those climbs. My dog, in fact, is even called Ronde after the race itself.
That is commitment, Dan. The question is, will your next dog be called Roubaix?
No, Flanders. I love the Tour of Flanders.
There we go. Anyway, this Sunday, the 4th of April, will mark the 105th edition of the men's race and the 18th edition of the women's race.
Now, sadly, there are a few territory restrictions on our live broadcast of this fantastic race, but as it's pretty much the biggest one-day race of the year, hopefully you will be able to find a way to watch it wherever you are. And if you are in a place where you can watch it on GCN Plus, you're going to be treated because we've got a pre- and post-race show as well.
Yeah, it's what you'd call an all-dayer. Now, you know the drill by now. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the course of the men's and the women's races, talk about some of the favourites, and of course, condemn a few riders with our predictions.
Right, let's start then by briefly reminding ourselves of the events that took place in last year's race. It was, of course, actually just under 6 months ago. It's on the 18th of October that it took place, thanks to the delays caused by COVID. But this year's race will return to its traditional spot on the first Sunday in April.
Yeah, the men's race last year came down to the 3 best riders in the peloton, getting clear over the top of the Teuenberg with about 40k left to go. Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel, and the newly minted world champion Julian Alaphilippe,
who promptly crashed into a race motorbike.
Yeah.
Ouch. That left Van Aert and Van der Poel to battle it out over the final hour of the race, and in the end, it was decided by a nail-biting 2-up sprint between the two, which was won just by Mathieu van der Poel, which was the first monument win of his career.
Yeah, Alexander Kristoff continued his incredible run of consistency this race by winning the bunch sprint for 3rd behind, ahead of Turgi, Lampard, Claes, Nason, Van Baarle, Degenkolb and Benoot.
Well remembered.
Thanks, mate.
So, in the women's race, it was a 1-2 for Boels Doelmans, with Chantal van den Broek-Black attacking on the Oude Quaremont with about 20 k's to go, and then riding solo all the way to the finish line in Oudenaarde. Her teammate at Boels Doelmans, Amy Peters, won the sprint for 2nd from a strong chase group about a minute behind her. Lotte Kopecky finished in 3rd place, and surprisingly, both of the 2 most dominant rides of the season, Van der Breggen and Van Vleuten, finished outside of the top 10. They were 11th and 15th respectively.
Yeah, strange that one, wasn't it, last year? Now, Flanders Classics, the race organisers, haven't published the official route for this year's races yet, in an effort to prevent crowds of fans gathering at the roadside, in light, of course, of the current COVID situation in Belgium. However, it's fair to assume that the route is at least going to be very similar to last year's.
Well, we hope so, otherwise this preview is going to be completely wrong,
True.
Isn't it? Now, the men's race will roll out of Antwerp, the start location of this race since 2017, and then head southwest towards Oudenaarde. When they get there, after about 95 k's, well, that's when the fun really starts. The route features 6 sectors of flat cobbled roads and 19 Hellingen, those short, sharp cobbled climbs that define this race. These will start with the Kattenberg after 102 k's of the race, and then they come thick and fast for the next 135 kilometres, I think it is.
Yeah, riders will tackle, among others, 3 climbs of the Quaremont, 2 of the Paterberg, the Wolvenberg, the Berendries, the Kappelmuur, the infamous Koppenberg, and of course, the Teuenberg, nicknamed by some as the Boonenberg, which is a great name. That was where, of course, the great Tom Boonen used to like accelerating in both E3 Harelbeke and the Tour of Flanders.
I made some accelerations on the Teuenberg in my time.
Did you,
just to get back onto the group that had dropped me.
All right, the final of the race is that 1-2 punch of the Quaremont at 238k and the Paterberg at 241k, followed by the descent and then a 12k flat run into Oudenaarde to decide the winner.
Meanwhile, the women's race is 102 kilometres shorter than the men's and features 13 of those climbs and 5 of the flat cobbled sectors. Their race both starts and finishes in Oudenaarde, and although it will sadly miss out the Koppenberg, it does feature that same finale as the men, so the Quaremont and the Paterberg combo with 13 kilometres to go.
Okay, so we're filming this on Monday, so we don't have the full and final start list just yet, or indeed the results of Tour of Vlaanderen for that matter. We're getting our excuses in early, aren't we, Dan? But the provisional start list is absolutely loaded as you'd expect for a monument.
It is. So we're going to start with the women's race this time. Quite hard to single out one of them as the big race favourite, I think. But SD Works are bringing their A team to the race. They've got last year's winner, Chantal van den Broek-Black. She'll probably be their leader. And after her dominant win at Strade Bianche, you'd be a fool to bet against her, really. She will have the support of last year's runner-up, Amy Peters, Jolien Dora, one of the fastest sprinters in the bunch, Elena Cecchini, should I say, Christine Macherus, and the world champion.
Oh yeah.
Anna van der Breggen should be there as well. Pretty dominant squad, I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
And they've proven time and time again they really know how to work well as a team. So hard to bet against Van den Broek-Black, also hard to bet against that entire team, really.
Well, indeed, although we have seen from Gent-Wevelgem they don't always have it their own way. Almost equally strong, I'd say, is Trek Segafredo's team. You've got to say probably riding in support of 2015 winner Elisa Longo-Borghini, given her current scintillating form.
She's flying, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, but well supported too by 2016 winner Lizzie Deignan, 2014 winner Ellen van Dijk, Chloe Hosking, and another very fast finisher, Trixie Warwick. Oh yeah, cyclocross world champ as well, Lucinda Brand, and French national champ Audrey Cordon-Rago. Another team with a lot of cards to play, and with 3 previous winners, you've got to expect they know how to play them.
I didn't realise quite how stacked that squad was, or experienced in this particular race, to be honest. So those are the 2 main superpowers when it comes to teams, but also starting is Movistar's pairing of Emma Norsgaard and current European champion Annemiek van Vleuten. Now, van Vleuten hasn't really looked quite at the standard she was last year throughout the revised racing season. Whereas Norsgaard has basically been the revelation of 2021 so far. So it will be quite interesting to see how they play that together. And despite not winning a race yet, Norsgaard has come second at De Panne, Le Samin and the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. So you'd imagine a big win's just round the corner, surely.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? But a win of that size, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Liv Racing will most likely be riding for Lotte Kopecky, winner of Le Samin, and Bike Exchange likely to be backing the winner of De Panne, Grace Brown.
She's brilliant, isn't she? She used to be a runner. She came to the sport quite late, but she's clearly quite talented, a bit like Mark Woods.
Yeah.
Talking of talent, Marianne Vos will be leading Jumbo-Visma women's team, hot off the back of that incredibly impressive 300-metre sprint that she used to win at Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday. Now, when Vos is on form, she almost can't be beaten on a race like this, can she?
No.
We'll wait and see on Sunday, of course, but now she's back to her winning ways. I doubt that there's more victories to follow.
No, I don't.
Is that right?
You said you
doubt that there will be victories to follow.
There we go, yeah. Now, it's been 14 years, would you believe, since she first stood on top of a podium at the race. 8 years since she won it. Wouldn't it be great to see her on the top step here again?
I'd love it, yeah.
It would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Now, it's currently still unconfirmed, but Sarah Tizet will probably be sending Kirsten Wild and Lisa Brennauer. LABTC Ljubljana will be backing 2019 winner Bastianelli. And I'd expect to see Lorena Vibes leading Team DSM.
Yeah, she still seems to be suffering from that crash at the Healthy Aging Tour.
That was a nasty crash.
And now, just before we move on to the men's start list, one team to keep an eye on is Plantur Pura. Heard of them?
No.
No, it's because they've just changed their name. They were previously branded as Ciclisme Mundial. It's basically a composite team made up of a load of cyclocross stars. The likes of Sanne Kant, Jara Kastelein, Anne-Marie Vorst, Annick van Alphen, Manon Bakker, and the ex-world champion Ceylin del Carmen Alvarado. Now, they have raced this year on the road at De Panne and indeed at Gent-Wevelgem. And despite not really bringing too much to the table just yet, we all know just how good cyclocross riders can be on the road, so I'm very excited, should I say, to see how they fare.
Absolutely, yeah. Right then, on to the men's race now. Being a monument, basically all the best classics riders in the peloton are going to be starting. So in no particular order, we can expect to see, from memory, you ready for this?
Go on.
Christophe, Van Mark, Bettiol, Trentin, Turgis, Hausler, Colbrelli, Degenkolb, Van Avermaet, Nason, Laporte, Pollitt, Sagan, Stuyven, Benoot, Crow Anderson, Pedersen, Pidcock, Van Baarle, Rowe, Nizzolo, Matthews, Stewart, Geniette, Kung, Lampard, Stebar, Alaphilippe, Asgreen, Van Aert, and of course, defending champ Van der Poel.
I think you might have missed Ivan Garcia Cortina of Team Movistar there, Si.
Should we do it again?
That was impressive.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Hey,
Yeah.
It did take 23 takes, but nevertheless. But yes, wow, that is quite a start, this, isn't it? And those are just the favourites. Now, the thing about Flanders is that we've seen surprise winners in the past. Even 2 years ago, Alberto Bettiol, I think you could say that he was a surprise winner. I think it was in part thanks to the fact that he was relatively unknown at the time. When he attacked, people didn't immediately jump on him, not knowing what he was capable of, really. And this was the defining factor, really, in him getting that initial gap on the Paterberg, which then, of course, he carried all the way to the finish line in Oudenaarde.
Yeah, now, obviously, all of those favourites can't do it alone. We know how important having a strong team can be in a race like this, and so we won't go through every rider on every team in this video, although I could if you asked me to do it from memory. But there are 3 teams that stand out to us.
There are. The Wolfpack, number 1, De Koning Quickstep, of course. They are fielding an unbelievable squad for the Tour of Flanders. Alaphilippe looks to be their leader. He wasn't even there at the E3 prize last weekend, or last Friday, should I say. He'll have support from Lampaert, Stibar, De Klerk, basically the only domestique, Asgreen and Seneschal. Now, their engine room of De Klerk and Asgreen is a serious amount of horsepower, you've got to say, which is going to be invaluable in a race that's over 250 k's long.
Yeah, thinking back to Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, Asgreen was almost single-handedly responsible for shutting down that gap to Van der Poel's group in the final few kilometres, wasn't he? Which brought it back together for that bunch sprint, and his win at E3 Saxo Bank was one of the strongest rides
It was crazy.
I've ever seen in a very, very long time. They are strong enough to bend the race to their will, I think you could say, aren't they? And although they got it wrong in Gent-Wevelgem, providing Alaphilippe doesn't crash into any motorbikes this year, they will be a tough team to get away from,
I think they might be feeling quite confident going into this race, Si.
Well, yeah, that is true. But there are some people that are going to.
Well, yeah, let's get on to them. Another very strong team, in my eyes at least, is that of Trek Segafredo. Now, it's a real shame we didn't get to see them race at Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday due to that COVID positive within the team. But I think it might just motivate them even more to get as much as possible out of this reduced classics campaign. They've got a pairing of Sturven and Pedersen, but they've also got great support. Turns, Kirsch, Simmons and De Kort. They're all strong in their own right.
They are indeed. Pedersen's win at Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne showed once again he's difficult to come around once he opens his sprint, and Stuyven's opportunistic win at Milan-San Remo puts him up there near, if not quite, with the top favourites.
I'd agree with you then. Now, the last team that we're going to mention might surprise a few of you. Agi Desert Citroën. You're the French expert.
That sounded perfect to me.
Well, let's go for Agi to our Citroën. Maybe this is more my heart talking than my head, given that they're yet to win a big race this season, but they've got Naarsen, Van Avermaet and Jungels. And on paper, that's quite a formidable trio of riders and leaders. Now, I know it's been a while, but Greg's 2017 Classic season was almost perfect, wasn't it? The Tour of Flanders is basically the only cobbled Classic that he didn't win that year.
Yeah, and that is still the glaring omission from his Palmares, isn't it? He's still missing a Tour of Flanders, and given how fast younger talent is emerging, this could be his last realistic shot.
Could be, yeah.
Couldn't it? Jungels is or was unstoppable once he gets clear, and although he hasn't shown that kind of form of late, he is a monument winner, let's not forget, and if he's in shape, the rest of the bunch may not see him again if he gets up the road.
Doesn't seem to be in shape though, does he?
No.
We'll see. We won't write him off, as I said. Then there's Oliver Naarsen that we just mentioned, another rider who's got a huge amount of talent and class and power, but who's yet to secure that really big victory through the course of his career. He has come close a few times before, and I just really think, or maybe hope, that this might be his moment or his monument.
Yeah, now hang on. We've not spoken yet about the teams of Wout van Aert or Mathieu van der Poel.
Well, there's a reason for that. They don't have particularly strong teams. So.
Well, are you trying to light a fire in the comment section, Dan?
Well, yeah, you should probably hear me out, I think, on this one. So Van Aert and Van der Poel, two best male cyclists in the peloton right now.
Yeah.
I guess you probably add Alaphilippe in fairly safely, but nevertheless, we'll go with those two. They are so overwhelmingly strong, in fact, on their own, that they've been caught out at the front of races without teammates on quite a few different occasions over the last year or two. And I think that could be the secret to beating them here. Nathan van Hooijdonk at Gent-Wevelgem was, I think for the first time I can remember, the last man or a man still with Wout van Aert towards the end of a big classic. Now, of course, those two, Van Aert and Van der Poel, are going to be the big favourites on the start line, but if De Koning Quickstep can get Alaphilippe up the road with them, but also with Asgreen, maybe Lampaert and Stibar at the same time, they've got to have their upper hand, haven't they? It could be a case of quantity over quality, I think, at that point.
Are you trying to say Alaphilippe and Asgreen are quantity, not quality?
Well,
that's a bold shout.
Let's say quantity and quality over just quality.
That is better. Otherwise, we might reach YouTube's comment limit.
Well, that is true,
if
yes.
it has one. To be fair, we did see them do that, didn't we, at E3? Strength in numbers.
Yeah, they've proven that they can do it, but then they were absent, really, except for Sam Bennett at Gent-Wevelgem a couple of days later, so anything could happen. It all come down to the same final in the end as last year. They won it, just Van der Poel and Van Aert, after saying all of that.
Yeah, basically. Now, it wouldn't be a major surprise, would it? But seriously, speaking of quality, though, Dan, you know who we haven't mentioned, not even on that epically long list I reeled off earlier? Peter Sagan.
Peter who?
No, seriously, we cannot do that joke anymore. He's back. A very strong stage win at the Volta Catalunya and a surprise fourth at Milan-San Remo. Both very positive signs that Sagan's bout of COVID, no pun intended there, hasn't taken too much off his top end, and actually, maybe it's just freshened him up a bit.
Well done.
He's won this race before, and if they do say class is permanent, I don't know about you, but I would absolutely love to see Sagan win on Sunday. That would really give Van der Poel and Wout van Aert something to think about, wouldn't it?
Well, I hope he is there. I don't think he's quite where he used to be. Imagine that. Van der Poel, Alaphilippe, Van Aert and Sagan at the peak of their powers. That could be quite something, wouldn't it?
He's not been in the mix with those guys yet, has he?
No.
We've not seen that
Not at
quartet.
the peak of his form, really. No, they were at the Tour of France last year, but that would be great to see. Well, we'll wait and see this coming Sunday. Enough of our hot takes for now, though. Time to make some predictions. Right, then, I'm going to go first before we get in there.
Right.
But I'm going to go slightly left field and not go for the main favourite. So on the men's side, it's going to be Kasper Asgreen that takes the win. Danish national champ, so strong on Friday. I mean, I think that they just can't chase every Deceuninck rider down, and he's going to go. And on the women's side, Liv Racing's Lotte Kopecky. Been on great form, finished runner-up to Marianne Vos at Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday.
Okay, right. So I'm not either going to go for one of the two big favourites. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe it's not going to be one of them. I'm going to go for Alaphilippe, out to make amends from last year, and also part of the super team, just like Asgreen. And I'm going to go for another super team rider on the women's side of things, Chantal van den Broek-Black.
You know what's going to happen? Asgreen, Chantal van den Broek-Black, Alaphilippe and also Kopecky are all going to crash out at Tour of Flanders on Wednesday after we film this and won't take part on Sunday.
Sorry, guys.
Kiss of Death's not that bad. But anyway, let's get a few more kisses of death from our other presenters.
On the men's one, Ivan Cortina, and in the women's one, Annemiek van Vleuten.
I would like to bet on a bit risky for the women's race on Elisa Longo-Borghini. I think the SD Works is clearly the dream team, but she has shown really great shape, so I'm pretty confident. For the men's race, okay, I'm French, so I'm gonna bet on Julien Alaphilippe, and would be so happy to see him winning this race with the world champion jersey.
My predictions for the Ronde van Vlaanderen 2021 has to be Anna van der Breggen for the women's and Mathieu van der Poel for the men's. It's got to be. I can't look past those two.
I'm going to go Chantal van den Broek-Black in the women's and Julien Alaphilippe in the men's, but I want Pitters.
My predictions are Mathieu van der Poel for the men and Anna van der Breggen for the women.
My predictions are Annemiek van Vleuten and Mathieu van der Poel, both previous winners of this event, and who I think this year are going to take the victory again.
Men's Tour of Flanders, I'm going to go for Magnus Cort Nielsen. I think he's got it in the bag this year. I'm going to go, I think you've probably seen a pattern with my picks. They're always outside the kind of top list of favourites. Just love to see an underdog win. On the women's race, I'm going to go for Annemiek van Vleuten, now running for Movistar, of course. And I think it'll be cool to see the Spanish team take a victory in one of the biggest races in Belgium. So they're my shouts. Hopefully I'll get one of them right this year.
Well, there we go. I honestly cannot wait for Sunday. My fridge is loaded with Belgian beers, which we're not going to be able to drink, Si, because we're doing a pre and post-race show.
You're not bringing them with for the post-race show?
Oh, I don't think we should, because I don't want to be slurring our words when we're talking about the Lippenhovenstraat and the Karel Martenstraat, which I can barely say when I'm sober.
Well, we can celebrate afterwards, then, can't we? At least, when the show is done. We will have correctly predicted the winners, of course, of both races.
That's what we're celebrating, is it?
Exactly, yeah, we could deserve another one. Anyway, we very much hope that you'll be joining us on GCN Plus as well, if you're able to, of course. And if you are, we will see you bright and early on
It
Sunday
is
morning.
early, yeah.